Good morning, everybody, and wishing everybody a very, very happy Christmas. I'm Alex Wilson, Tellington TTouch practitioner, and over the next 12 days, the famous 12 Days of Christmas, I'm going to be sharing a short video regarding Tellington TTouch, and we're calling this the 12 Tellington TTouch Days of Christmas. Today being Christmas Day, the theme that I really want us to just think a little bit about is observations. I'm sure for those of you who know a bit about TTouch that observations is one of the core elements of the Tellington TTouch method. We have the body work, the hands-on body work, we have the leading and movement exercises, but the observations is really important because this is what we sort of observe in our dogs. This is what we see with our dogs. And from there, we can translate that into what we would call possible solutions. The things that we can change, the things that we can do to help our dogs to cope with what might be more challenging situations. And being Christmas Day, that really brings me on to thinking about challenging situations, because we may be having the day of our lives. Christmas Day may be the day for us people, but is it really for our dogs? How many of our dogs are being put into situations that might be very challenging for them? How many of our dogs are joining us on Christmas Day at Christmas lunch? There are lots of people that those dogs don't know. There are children coming to our houses who want to pet those dogs, and maybe our dogs are just not being used to being petted all the time. And what could we do to support those dogs? What could we do to help those dogs not have too stressful a day? Because dogs don't know it's Christmas. Even things like the sound of wrapping paper and presents being opened can be very distressing for some dogs. Where family members who are staying with us have brought their dogs, and maybe our dog is slightly reactive and isn't really coping so well with having another dog in the house. What could we do to manage that dog and manage our own dogs and make sure that our dogs are having a decent time? Remember, we have to advocate for our dogs. The things we want to be thinking about when we observe our dogs is looking at their body language. What is going on with the eyes? Are the eyes soft and relaxed? Are the eyes hard? Are we seeing white of the eye because the dog is looking in one direction and focusing on something else, and it's all becoming too much for that dog? Are we seeing that dog looking everywhere because they're really feeling challenged with the environment? So just think for a moment about what we can do for our dogs to help our dogs to cope with these situations. The other thing to be thinking about are things like the mouth. What's the tongue doing? What are the teeth doing? How relaxed is the dog? If we see the dog rolling over, don't assume that dog wants their tummy tickled. Often a dog rolls on their back because they're stressed and worried, and what they're asking for is space. What can we do in our homes on Christmas Day to give our dogs some space? Can we set up a room with some nice dog beds? Can we take our dogs outside and do a little bit of free work with the dogs? Can we do some Tellington TTouch body work with the dogs? And we'll be talking about body work more over the next few days. But if you know some of the Tellington TTouch body work, doing a little bit of ear touch with the dogs can be really helpful if they're really challenged. Also, remember, the dogs don't need to be with us all the time. If it's too much for our dogs, take the dog out of a room, pop the dog in their crate if they're crate trained and they're comfortable to be in a crate. Give the dog some moments of space and make sure that we're not forcing our dogs to be with us because we want our dogs with us and we're not actually thinking about what the dog's needs are. Remember, dogs do not celebrate Christmas. We may celebrate Christmas and we may think about our dogs as one of the family, and of course we should be doing that. But we also need to be aware of the fact that for dogs, being in a big gathering, and if you think back to younger dogs who may have been acquired during the pandemic, may have been acquired and may have grown up with just their people, suddenly, big Christmases, which we haven't seen for a number of years, are now starting to happen again. And for the dog being in that environment can be really challenging. For those of you who've heard me talk about the 5 Fs, the 5 coping strategies of dogs, something we teach a lot about in Dellington TTouch, remember the first of the 5 Fs, flight or movement. If the dog is a bit worried, if the dog is feeling a bit trapped, maybe just pop the dog on a lead and just take them for a little walk, take them outside, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes up the road or into a paddock, and get them into movement. That may be really helpful for the dog. It may be really useful just getting that dog into movement and giving that dog a little bit of a break. Dogs do need to reset just like we do. How many times have you been to a party and you haven't known a lot of people there? It's been a little bit overwhelming, so maybe you've just taken yourself off to the bathroom, had a play on your phone for a few minutes, and maybe that was all you needed to just come back into the environment. Sometimes our dogs are the same. Sometimes they'll be in an environment where things will just be too challenging and they need to just take themselves out of that situation and just be able to reset. But are we giving them that opportunity? Have they got an exit strategy? Or are they in a big room with everybody sitting there opening presents, children everywhere, other people everywhere, and those dogs just can't get away and can't have that moment? So just be observant of your dogs. Think about observations in TTouch and think about possible solutions. What could we change? How can we support our dogs? And as Robin Hood, one of the founders of TTouch, always says, listen to the dog's whispers. Don't wait for them to be shouting. And so often on Christmas Day and during other festivals, dogs do end up shouting, and things can be too much. So just enjoy the time with your dogs. If it's time off work and you're hanging out with your dogs, enjoy that time together. But just consider what is fun for your dog, not just fun for you. Well, from the team at Extra Dog, I'd like to wish everybody a very happy Christmas. And I shall be back tomorrow with another tip from the Dellington TTouch Toolbox. See you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.